Well, what do you think of Trump's mass deportation plan?
I think that people seem to really care about immigration and illegal immigration in the country right now. And I think that I'm not sure if his plan will work, but I think that it's good that he's starting a dialogue about illegal immigration because it's something that needs to get fixed in this country so that a lot of money can go back into public works projects that need to be done.
So, can you describe what his plan is?
From what I understand, his plan is to put up a wall.
No, I mean for the illegal immigrants, the mass deportation plan.
I mean, he hasn't given specifics on his plan yet, so I can't speak to what his plan is if I don't know his specifics. What I know about it so far is putting up a wall.
Well, let's do the wall after the mass deportation. As I understand it, his plan is he's going to deport 11 million people. He's going to send them, I don't know, in boxcars or buses or whatever, airplanes if they're from overseas. All of them he's going to take out of the country, and then he's going to bring them back expeditedly.
Right.
And so, and when asked why he's going to do that, he says, well, that's the law.
Right.
But my question is, okay, that's the law. But if you're in government, you can change the law. So why not just process them right here instead of destroying their lives and going through all the expense of all the legal battles and all the extra people you're going to have to hire and the expense and destroying their lives, because once you kick them out, they lose their home, their jobs, everything.
Right.
And just check them out here, like give them a work permit or something like that, and then go over them. If there's some of them that are no good, kick them out. If they're peaceful, hardworking people, well, let them stay. What do you think about that?
In terms of trying to create a fast track to trying to give these people citizenship, I think that is something that, I mean, I can't speak to his policies.
I'm sorry, I didn't say anything about citizenship. I said give them a legal status.
Legal status.
Legal status. That they're not illegal anymore. They can work like have a work permit. That citizenship is a whole different issue.
Right. I mean, like I said, I don't know Donald Trump's specific plans or policies or anything like that. I just know that there is an illegal immigration issue in the country, and there has to be something done to figure out how to basically get these people paying taxes so that money can go back into public works projects. I don't know if deporting 11 million people, like you just said, is the best moral way to go about it, but, who knows? Who knows?
Have you considered the economic consequences?
Of sending back 11 million people?
Of kicking 11 million people out of the country,
right,
and then bringing them back later, a year or two or whatever. What are the economic consequences? Let me ask you this question.
So I'm not really sure what the economic consequences would be.
Will it increase unemployment?
Sending 11 million people out of the country?
If you take any 11 million people that live in America,
right,
you kick them out for whatever reason, these illegal immigrants or whoever, what will happen to unemployment?
I mean, I don't know. I think you could look at Europe, which has a much more stringent immigration policy than America, and see how they're doing.
No. Well, do these illegal immigrants, do they buy food, clothes, cars, homes, gasoline, etc.?
They do, but they don't pay income tax. They don't pay any form of tax on anything that they're doing.
Well,
if they're not actually
But they do. Okay, so if you kick them out,
right,
there'll be less demand for all those products here in America, right?
Not necessarily.
Less people are buying food, less people are buying clothes, less people are buying cars and gasoline, so there is less demand for those products here in America.
Not necessarily, because you could argue that those same people that are here illegally because they're undocumented are working for lower wages because they're taking undocumented wages. So you could be saying that their actual demand, their cost of living is inherently fixed to a certain income that's not in line with everybody else.
I'm talking about the effect on the producers of the product, the people that sell food, let's say McDonald's.
Right.
There's a McDonald's store in Latin Ghetto. So, okay, so they kicked them out, right? They kicked them out, so now there's less customers. So that there's less customers.
Should be kicked out of the country. I never said that. I never said that I personally think that 11 million people should be kicked out of the country. I simply said that there is an issue with illegal immigration. And I think Donald Trump is making a point that is bringing that into the national conversation, which is I think that's something that needs to be discussed. Do I think kicking out 11 million people is the best thing to do? Most likely not. A mass exodus of people hasn't worked out well for many countries. However, it needs to be talked about. You have to figure out a way to get these undocumented people documented so they can start paying taxes.
Right, absolutely. But the point is, hardly anybody talks about the fact that it will increase unemployment because it decreases demand for products. Therefore, you have to lay off workers. The McDonald's example that I gave you,
if they're not documented to begin with.
So what?
So then your unemployment statistics are skewed anyway.
But there's less people buying McDonald's hamburgers, so McDonald's needs less employees, so they have to lay off employees. Nobody talks about the fact that it would increase unemployment here because all those products that they used to buy are no longer being bought. Therefore, you have to reduce your employment in that field.
Right.
So that increases unemployment of real people that are working right now.
I mean,
and here's another. Yeah, well, okay, that's why I brought it up because
right.
Nobody ever talks about it.
I don't have a personal stance on it. I mean,
I understand.
I'm freelance. I'm freelance, so like I'm
right.
not personally affiliated with any party.
So, right. But you're with the Tea Party, right?
I'm freelance for the Tea Party, yes.
Okay, so.
And also, it's a private organization that's not officially affiliated with the Tea Party. It's a grassroots organization called Grassroots.
Yeah, I think the Tea Party
has a lot of members who are in the Tea Party, but it's not directly affiliated with the Tea Party.
Well, the Tea Party is great, and I'm glad that you have that affiliation with them because they like to focus on freedom. Right. And I think that's an important thing, but they also focus on the economic consequences of actions.
Right.
And if you kick out all these illegal immigrants, the prices of the things that they're producing more cheaply now will have to go up, right? So they have that.
I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, there's so many economic principles in work. I mean, you have to wonder, what's the population of the United States right now?
300 and some million.
So what's 11 million? What percentage of the total population is that?
That's about 3.5 or 4.
So do you think an outflux of 3.5 to 4% of the population is going to make as sizable a chunk in demand as you're suggesting it's going to be?
Absolutely, because 3% would wipe out GDP. You know how much GDP we have? Like 2%. And just 3 or 4% would just wipe out everything. We'd go into a recession. Some of these products that they are help produce, like they pick vegetables and fruits at a lower rate than maybe somebody else would. Some of those businesses would just go out of business because they can't produce a product cheaply anymore. Right. So they can't compete with people that are selling it from foreign countries like Mexico. So those people would go out of business, and those workers would also lose their jobs. And the cost of cabbage would go up, and the cost of strawberries and all that. Right. So I see a lot of negative consequences. I don't see any benefit.
I mean, like I said, I don't think sending 11 million people out of the country all at once, I mean, I don't even know how you could possibly do that infrastructure-wise, how you would have the manpower to do that. I don't think that's probably the best way of going about it, right? But like I said, I just think it's a conversation that has to be had in terms of how to get illegal immigration dealt with so that these people can just start paying taxes so that we can have that money going to public works projects.
Okay, Alex Weinberg, it was great interviewing you. Is there something you wanted to ask me?
Yeah.